So, you guys really seem to enjoy my last video. Like, really seem to enjoy it. Well, I guess it's just time to continue doing what I do best, talking about pixelated hats and coats for 10 minutes like a crazy person. My last big videos focused on what I personally believed were TF2's most forgotten hats and cosmetics, and many of you guys gave your own opinions regarding my picks. But I really liked the engagement we had going in the comments, and with the amount of people explaining which cosmetics they personally thought were most forgotten, I thought, hey, why not make a video focusing on what cosmetics the player base of TF2 considers forgotten? So here we are today. This is TF2's Most Forgotten Cosmetics Viewer Edition. This time around, I won't have any rules or criteria set in place for which cosmetics I choose, since everybody is going to have their own definition of forgotten. So any hat or cosmetic that I see someone consider forgotten, I'll be using in this video. Anyway, let's get into it. Starting off this video, we have a pick from Deonia, this hat being the Noble Nickel Amassment of Hats. I honestly understand why this one could be forgotten. It's just a robot version of the Noble Amassment of Hats, which is just more popular than the Nickel Amassment. Heck, some players may not even immediately notice the Nickel Amassment as being a robo hat, perhaps mistaking it for the Noble Amassment instead. Also, the Towering Pillar of Hats is just a better and more popular version of both of the previous hats, since it adds an entire extra hat to your head. Sweet. I was actually lucky enough to unbox an unusual Noble Nickel Amassment of hats a while back. Or should I say unlucky enough, since the unusual effect was masked flies. That's honestly the ugliest unusual I've ever seen, but I love it simply because of how terrible it looks in any loadout I put it in. Anyway, I'd have to agree that the Noble Nickel Amassment of Hats is rather forgotten today. I'd honestly just stick with the regular Noble Amassment of Hats if you want to practice hatception. SpaceGator1775 here says that one of TF2's most forgotten cosmetics is the Soldier's Spark Plug, and yeah, that is 100% a valid take. Honestly, I was laughing to myself just thinking about Soldier putting a spark plug in his mouth because, like, why? I get that it's a robo version of Soldier's stogie, and I can totally picture a robot soldier smoking a spark plug, but just seeing Soldier doing it is just kinda weird. As you can probably guess, like a lot of other cosmetics I've talked about in my two previous videos, better, more popular cosmetics exist that just look cooler in general, and the Soldier's Spark Plug is no different. I'd recommend sticking to the Soldier's stogie if you want to make the soldier look like a cool, refined mercenary and not a robot's cosplay. Absolutely. Our next forgotten cosmetic comes from Sloppy Slime, who mentions the Sacrificial Stone. Okay, so I was sort of joking around in the last video, ranting about how no one has ever seen the Trailblazer in-game before, and that anyone who has seen it is just lying. But scratch that, this takes the cake in that regard. I've probably seen the Sacrificial Stone twice in-game before, right when Jungle Inferno dropped, which was also the update this cosmetic was added to the game. Apart from that, I don't really see it anymore. Also, while I don't really like the cosmetic too much, I will give it points for creativity, because it looks really interesting. I would definitely agree with Sloppy Slime here though. It's definitely forgotten, and really only fits the whole jungle theme of Jungle Inferno when that update first dropped. It's still unique and interesting though. Coda CM here mentions a unique forgotten cosmetic rarely seen anymore. They bring up the audio file. This is a promotional item that you get from opening the What's in the Team Fortress 2 soundtrack box. This box can be redeemed with a code received alongside purchasing the Fight Songs, the music of Team Fortress 2 album on CD or vinyl. But getting back to the cosmetic itself, there are a couple of reasons why I'd call it forgotten. One, since it's a promotional item, this severely limits the number of players today who actually own it, and two, it's meant to look a tad bit gaudy, which further limits the number of players who'd actually want to wear it. It looks super over the top, which I know was the goal with this hat, but it really struggles to fit in with any loadout properly. The audio file, while being largely forgotten nowadays, is still a hat I hold near and dear, since I unlocked it after getting a vinyl copy of Fight Songs for my 16th birthday. I'm always going to have a soft spot for this eyesore of a hat, and it'll remain a permanent addition to my TF2 inventory. The next forgotten cosmetic you guys chose comes from Magpie TF, and it's another cosmetic for the soldier, this time being the Colonial Clogs. The weird thing about this cosmetic is, at least to me, at a first glance, it seems like it would have some synergy with other loadouts, but when you try and incorporate it into a standard cosmetic set, it sticks out like a sore thumb. If you want it to look somewhat normal in your loadout, you'll have to stick to a colonial or even a pirate-themed loadout just to make it work. and if you ask me, that's the main reason it's forgotten. Colonial or pirate-themed loadouts don't seem too popular to use as soldier, since military or war-themed cosmetics fit the soldier's character far better, and more of those types of cosmetics are in the game. The number of cosmetics that would look good with the clogs is extremely limited, and that combined with the fact that these cosmetics may not be desirable by many soldier players makes the colonial clogs a truly forgotten cosmetic. The next forgotten cosmetic chosen by you guys comes from... what? Damned to Suffer 666, wow what a name, mentions how the first ever hats added to the game in 2009 are some of TF2's more forgotten cosmetics. Personally, I wouldn't call them forgotten so much as I would consider them primitive. I don't mean this in a bad way though, I think they served as good base points at the time for what each class's future hat selection should look like. We've received hundreds upon hundreds of cosmetics since then, and they all expand upon what the original 9 hats laid the groundwork for. These hats themselves also look nice, in some cases adding simple details to each class's base model, or in other cases giving some classes further character via outlandish but contained flair. So while I wouldn't consider these hats forgotten too much today, I can say that they are seen less frequently in game, largely due to the huge number of cosmetics players can choose from now. These first 9 hats are iconic, but there's simply just more variety to choose from today. Ludwig here brings up a forgotten cosmetic for Scout, being the bacteria blocker. Similarly to the colonial clogs, this cosmetic sticks out in comparison to other cosmetics one may pair with it, but unlike the clogs, I truly cannot think of a loadout that this would look good in. Okay, maybe this one, but you get my point. This was a promotional item added alongside some other cosmetics back in 2013, promoting the Season 5 premiere of Adult Swim's The Venture Bros. Regarding the cosmetic though, it really doesn't seem to fit Scout's character too well. I mean, it won't take anything away from your loadout if you use it, but it certainly won't add anything either. But I wouldn't call it completely forgotten though, since if you paint it with the dark salmon injustice paint, you can make the Scout look like, you know, something that resembles a thumb. Yeah, that's it. Apart from that one potential for a meme loadout, I truly think a typical player would have a difficult time incorporating it into a loadout, and because of this struggle, it's more forgotten nowadays simply because no one's gonna use it anymore. Up next we have a pick from CoolKid8131. They say that one of TF2's most forgotten cosmetics is the Zarou. Just by looking at this hat, I can tell that its main forgettable factor is simply how small the hat is itself. If it were made any bigger, it would definitely be more noticeable, which might increase its noticeability in game too. In its current state though, the hat is so small to the point that it just looks too goofy to use, which I know was probably intentional. So in that regard, this hat does a great job. But the Zarou's small size combined with the high likelihood that it would be difficult to make a good loadout with definitely makes this hat forgotten. Here we have a recommendation from the Furfoot, who brings up the Hive Minder as another forgotten cosmetic in TF2. It pains me to talk about the Hive Minder since I really like this cosmetic. The modeling looks good, and for some reason, I totally think it fits the Pyro's character, even though they're barely associated with bees. So the only reason it could be called forgotten is because of its extremely limited loadout potential. Apart from the obvious beekeeper themed loadout, there's nothing else that would really suit the Hive Minder. So I definitely have to agree with the Furfoot here. The Hive Minder, while personally one of my favorite cosmetics for Pyro, just doesn't have enough loadout potential to make it usable by the player base, therefore making it forgotten. Finally, the last suggested forgotten cosmetic for this video comes from Kenneth251, who mentions the Backstabber's Booms Sling and the Spy Crab? The Spy Crab? I'm not calling that forgotten. What, do you think I want my viewers to absolutely hate me? The Booms Sling is definitely a cosmetic I'd consider forgotten because it's a pet cosmetic. Pet cosmetics are a tricky type of cosmetic to incorporate into a loadout, since you have to choose between adding that finishing touch to your perfect loadout or sacrificing one of your 3 cosmetic slots to have a little buddy by your side. I'm willing to say that it's likely a large majority of players today would rather add those finishing touches with a 3rd traditional cosmetic instead of using a pet cosmetic, but who knows, I could be mistaken. This combined with the fact that the Backstabber's Booms Sling is for Spy, a class who spends half the game disguised or invisible, making it difficult to actually see what cosmetics he's using, makes this cosmetic typically go unused and therefore making it forgotten. But I will say, maybe more of you guys should use this cosmetic. It looks really nice and fits Spy's whole sneaky and backstabbing character pretty well. And there we have it, TF2's most forgotten cosmetics chosen by you guys. I really appreciate you guys checking this video out. It was a blast to make, and videos like this one help me stay engaged with all of you, which I also really enjoy. If you guys have any other cosmetics you would consider forgotten, let me know in the comments. If I get enough recommendations for more forgotten cosmetics, I might make a part 2 for this video. Again, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video.